All right, guys, so here we are, day 2 of working with the pot cakes here. So you guys see the video that we posted already, how they came in, disaster, super worked up. Started some really basic leash communication. Long way to go still. Been doing some socials with other dogs with them. They're progressing pretty well with that, given that we're only in day 2 right now. And predominantly what I'm looking to see over the next like 24 hours is that a lot of that big time resistance on the leash when they get scared, so the bucking, bronking, stuff like that starts to dissipate a little bit so that we could start moving into some of our next stages of pinch collar training, which I'm hoping to get into later today with them. So what I want to do next is I want to take them outside. We're just going to do a teeny bit outside with them because the weather is pretty dicey out there right now, but I want to get them used to being outside around traffic, stuff like that, and just assess where they're at overall with that. So we're going to get into that here. All right, let's go. So same deal, looking to see improvements with the walking and not have so much of the bucking. Obviously she's moving with me right now. Let's see if I can figure out how to walk on this. I'm okay with her sniffing around. I'm okay with her doing anything she wants within this leash right now. So we're just gonna take her down to the street here, walk around by the traffic and stuff and see if we get a ton of big flight responses or any sort of issues there. But so far, a big improvement we're already seeing here. You. And it's interesting, right? A lot of people always, talk about with dogs like this, like right away, you got to teach a heel and you got to, have really clear expectations on the walk and all that kind of stuff. And that's true. But when we're dealing with dogs that are starting just so freaking nervous like this one is, and like her brother is, we still have clear expectations. It's just that those clear expectations are zoomed out per where the dog is starting, right? So if you're taking a dog like this, that's starting about as bad as you can get, terrified of everything, right? Won't even walk, needs to get picked up when they get overwhelmed by things. And I'm then taking that dog and saying, all right, immediately, your expectation that I have of you is that you need to be in the most strict, rigid position possible. What's gonna happen is I'm gonna set the dog up for failure. It's gonna be impossible for me to enforce as strictly as I need to, and I'm just gonna create more stress and more frustration. Where even though I'm letting this dog do basically whatever it wants to do right now, I still have a clear parameter. I don't want tension on the leash. If this dog does try to freeze up, or this dog tries to not walk with me, I'm gonna make sure the dog understands when it feels tension on the leash, it still does need to walk. But because those expectations are just about as absolutely freaking simple as we could make them, I'm doing what I can to make the probability of success as high as humanly possible right now. So even things like her hypersensitivity to noise, right? That's a lot of, why don't you get over here where you can see this truck if you can't already. Hypersensitivity to noise and things she doesn't understand is something that generally would put her into a massive flight risk, right? And a lot of times we talk about conditioning a dog to those types of things. You get them focused on a particular task and it takes 50% of their attention on things. We're still adopting that exact same philosophy with what we're doing right now. So we got this freaking plow truck here making all sorts of noise. You can tell she's definitely nervous of it. And the first handful of times the thing went, you can see she like jumps a little bit, right? Very sensitive nervous system to those types of things. And see, just like that, right? And I'm allowing her to do that. If she wants to move away from it, she can. If she wants to investigate and move towards it, she can. But there is still a rule. So I'm still enforcing the 50-50 rule of if you get too far, you try to dart too far away, I'm going to enforce the expectation of you needing to stay within this leash. The difference is, again, it's easier for her to be successful in the presence of this trigger. And instead of saying, don't move, don't move, don't move, don't move, don't move, don't move, we're saying you could move, you could investigate, you just have you can't get so out of control and so unfocused that you're taken off at the sight of anything that makes you nervous, so that later on we could then bring that criteria back in a little bit and start enforcing something like you know, a more strict walking position or a sit or a down or whatever it may be. But again, getting back to, this is a dog from islands where it's not used to seeing snow and traffic and plow trucks, and this freaking thing driving by up here. There we go. And you see, still respecting the leash in the presence of those things. This dog wasn't used to walking around any of these types of distractions. This alone is massive progress that I am totally okay with for day 2 of this program. There we go. We got this truck again coming up. Beautiful. Beautiful. Let's go. So we're going to do this with both of the dogs here to start. We'll just test them out here around the street. And then if I can confirm both of them went to the bathroom, we may actually venture into a public setting with them and see what we get with that. Very good. You see, every time she hits that end of the leash, she's still respecting that, and she's slowing down and stopping and waiting for me. So like I said, I'm going to get stricter on the walking. That's definitely going to be something that we focus on. We're just taking this in baby steps. And these are the important details for people to see, and why we want to start highlighting dogs like this and showing more of the progress on the channel. So both of them, you could tell, already in just much better head spaces, right? Nowhere near as nervous and stuff. And we haven't even really started formal training. I mean, we could say, you know, again, all of this is quote unquote training. Like, we're establishing rules, we're teaching things. But what a lot of people think of when they think of training, we haven't started yet, which is the training tools, the teaching commands, things like that. Getting a dog into a good state of mind and past behavioral issues is generally much more than teaching commands. You don't necessarily need a quote-unquote obedient dog, meaning a dog that listens to commands constantly in order to have a well-behaved dog. And that's one of the things we try to establish with a lot of the dogs that we're working with, is not just teaching them things, but getting them into a really good state of mind. And that's what we're seeing with these two already. I mean, this is freaking huge. Again, semi-truck, right? Same criteria. Can't get too far, right? Got to stay within the confines of the expectation I'm holding them to. But they can respond to those things. If they get nervous, I want them to feel like they can move away from or towards whatever stimulus it is that they're being nervous of. Now, additionally, we haven't seen this with 6 yet, but with him, 7, we are starting to establish some corrections for miscellaneous unwanted behavioral issues. So you'll notice when we first brought him out, he jumped on me. That's something he was doing a little bit yesterday, and I was just kind of blocking it and stopping him. You were real good at walking right in front of me. We are starting to add in some corrections for that. Additionally, when I was working his social, he was pawing at the gate a little bit, and I did start correcting for that as well. He's a little bit quicker to act on his fears, whether it's with reactivity or things like jumping or whatever it may be. So by creating a little bit of an inhibition for that, in addition to these criteria that we're holding him to, we're going to start to make sure, that we could get him just a little bit more under control. And we're just giving a leash pop for it, right? He's just on a basic slip lead right now, so no pinch collar correction or anything like that just yet. And just creating that expectation that those behaviors are something that we don't want out of him. Beautiful though, walk looks really good. Some workers up here, walk by them just to see what we get. Again, staying totally loose on this leash. Again, trying to get away. Trying to get away. So obviously one of his big triggers is the people. So I didn't stop him from going up and sniffing, but I did hold him to the expectation. He had to keep moving with me. Keep the attention on me, not on the people. So we're staying true to our expectation. Very good. And we'll turn around and we're just gonna walk back. Now, if I start finding that he's not respecting that boundary quite as much, as far as getting too far ahead, we'll increase the pressure. So instead of the light leash pressure to get him to stop, we'll start increasing that into a little bit more of a pop to make sure that he's stopping and paying attention to me when he starts getting out too far. And this is how we do it, right? As we start creating our expectation and holding them to that expectation, we start noticing where they test that boundary a little too much and where we need to keep increasing the intensity with our consequence to enforce it, or we need to start shrinking that boundary up a little bit. So in his case, the expectation is fine. We just need to make sure the accountability for the expectation is coming up a little bit. And that's like what we were just talking about with the correcting for the jumping and things like that. Is he's just a little bit quicker to act on some of those fears, which is just requiring a little bit more of a consequence in order to get him to stop doing it. So, and now you see he's staying with me a little bit better here. All right, so we're gonna see what we get here. Walking on into a place that this dog's never been with lots of people. This was exactly what he said was generally the problem is. Fine around no people, busy places, lots of people. We'll see this sliding door is probably gonna get this dog all spooked. Whoa! Wow, that feels good. So that whole entrance went better than I thought it was going to, actually. Generally, first time somewhere like this, keeping this super, super easy. Staying on the outside lanes. Again, still no expectation aside from stay within the leash. We're just gonna get this dog used to all the sounds and sights and newness. Side, let this person pass. Hey, how are you? Very good. Little things like that, just trying to get this dog experiencing all sorts of different sights and sounds and stuff. Hey, how are you?
Good, you?
Good.
Finding everything okay?
Yeah, thank you. Very good. Huge. I mean, she's doing really great. Hi.
Hello.
Excuse me. All right, so we're going to tackle the main aisle next here. mean, that was like 100 out of 10. Massive, massive wins right now. 24 hours in, guys. Just go back and look at that before footage. Oh, scared, man. Let's go ahead and... Okay, I know. You gotta cool the jets, buddy. All right, so it aced the first field trip. Like, that really could not have gone better. So you'll notice at one point when we were in like kind of the corner, when all the stuff was going on, the guy was pushing those 2 carts. They were in like all the checkout lines and stuff were happening. She did start getting a little flighty, but she stayed within the leash. She moved away from it, then settled where she was, and then didn't continue to freak out at that point. So continuing to desensitize to these types of things through controlled exposure. That's the key here. 7 here, we know, has a little bit more of an issue with people than 6 does. So we'll see how he does with the pass-bys. Again, establishing those consequences for the jumping. I've been noticing that's definitely a stress default that he has, is fight or flight, right? He either tries to control and jump on you, try to get you to stop, or he'll try to dart away. So obviously we want to see that start to dissipate on both ends. Fantastic again. Very, very pleased with that. So again, I'm choosing to be a little harder on him, just reiterating, because he definitely acts on his fear more, right? Meaning when he gets nervous and tries to dart to the end of the leash, he's more intense about it than 6 is. When he does get really overwhelmed, he's quicker to act in more of a fight kind of fashion, whether it's the controlling jumping we see or whether it's the reactivity that we've seen a lot of with him. And he's, again, that was fantastic in there just now. But I did give him a couple corrections for, continuing to try to dart forward towards the leash, just to get him to kind of suppress that behavior a little better, to open him up to getting exposed to this stuff more. And all in all, I can't keep saying how pleased I am with the progress we're seeing so far. So day 2, getting them prepped for public access stuff. That's kind of how we go about some of that. And they're doing great. We'll keep them moving along. Okay.